Thank you for watching QTV with the news. My name is Diana Sumbwe. We take a look at stories making headlines. Police in Luanshya have detained National Democratic Congress NDC consultant Chishimba Kambwili on a charge of unlawful assembly. UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema has demanded the immediate release of NDC consultant Chishimba Kambwili from police custody. And Siavonga District Commissioner Lovemo Kanyama has informed the Southern Province Permanent Secretary that he will start using a fire tender as transport to go for work effective 3rd December. And now the news in detail. Police in Luanshya on the Copperbelt have formally arrested and charged National Democratic Congress consultant Chishimba Kambwili for unlawful assembly. Mr. Kambwili's lawyer Evaristo Mkonka has disclosed that Mr. Kambwili has since been detained after being denied bail despite meeting all the necessary legal requirements. Mr. Mkonka says the NDC consultant will appear in the Luanshya Magistrate Court on Friday. He was questioned for over 2 hours at Luanshya Central Police Station before formally being arrested. Mr. Mkonka says the arrest of his client means that he will skip court on Friday, where he is supposed to appear before Magistrate Mwaka Mikalile.
Medicine.
They went and saw the district commission over the same. So that's how we decided. But unfortunately,
how many are the workers?
the workers, they are quite many. According to the statement that we got, those who have been detained and arrested, they are 11, but the workers involved, they are over 60.
What is the position of the client at this stage?
As of now, we are struggling to get a police bond. He has been formally arrested with the other 11. We are still fighting for police bond. So we are still consulting yet to get to.
Earlier, police in Lusaka arrested and transported Mr. Kambwili to Luanshya, where he was wanted for questioning. Mr. Kambwili was arrested at Police Force Headquarters, where he had gone to lodge a complaint against Copperbelt Police Commissioner Charity Katanga for rejecting his request to defer his questioning by police in Luanshya. Police at Service Headquarters instead apprehended the wrong Member of Parliament before putting him on a police vehicle to Luanshya for questioning. Deputy Inspector General of Police for Administration Eugene Siwote told a media briefing that any person who commits a crime and avails himself or herself to the police station other than where he or she is required to appear, such a person is arrested and conveyed to the police station where he or she is required or alleged to have committed the crime.
Now, what I wish to state is that if any person commits a crime and avails himself or herself to the police, other than where he or she is required to appear, such a person can be apprehended by police and conveyed to the police station where he is required, so that they can answer to the allegations against them. To this effect, I want to confirm that we have apprehended and conveyed Honorable Chishimba Kambwili to Luanshya Police Station, where he has been asked to go and answer certain charges by police on the Copperbelt. Now,
Meanwhile, a United Party for National Development UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema has demanded the immediate release of NDC consultant Chishimba Kambwili from police custody. Mr. Hichilema says there is no need to treat each other like this, especially in the midst of the dialogue process in the country. He says Mr. Kambwili did not refuse to answer the police call-out in Luansha, but was merely requesting for a date next week so he could attend to court matters in Lusaka. Mr. Hichilema says there was no need to bundle the wrong member of parliament like an armed bandit and drive him to Luansha police. Meanwhile, Mr. Hichilema has called for an end to the continued attacking of political opponents whenever they are in party regalia.
So that we can resolve those issues that we don't agree with. But what are those issues we don't agree with, the two of us? We must be more concerned about the things that hurt our people.
Yes.
The things that keep our people out of employment.
Yes.
The things that keep our people out of businesses.
Yes.
The things that keep our people from walking freely wearing PF, UPND, UNIP, Chitenge.
Yes.
Let our people wear the Chitenge, the t-shirt, the way they want.
Yes.
They should not be attacked.
Yes.
They should not be attacked by anybody.
Yes.
And I took a responsibility in front of the church that I will talk to my members.
Yes.
And I believe my colleague will talk to his members. And I believe other people who then, if we are true leaders, they will follow what we are saying.
Yes.
So that people have freedom. Let us deal with the rule of law. Let us deal with the Public Order Act. Let us deal with the human rights. Let us deal with the unity and no segregation in the civil service.
Yes.
We don't want people retired in national interest when they are only 30 years old because they are this or that. They are all Zambians.
Correct.
Those are the things hurting our people.
Yes.
So I will ask you, and I ask you to keep or to give this dialogue an opportunity.
Yes.
Dialogue.
Siavonga District Commissioner Love Mokanyama has informed the Southern Province Permanent Secretary that he will, with effect from 3rd December 2018, start using the district's fire tender to go for work and back. This is according to his letter dated 28 November 2018 to the Permanent Secretary, copied to Southern Province Minister Edfi Hamkale and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works and Supply. Mr. Kanyama, on 12 September 2018, survived a road traffic accident in which his official vehicle, a Toyota Hilux, was extensively damaged. The accident happened in Monze town at a place called Kayuni. He escaped the accident with chest, leg, and arm injuries. The Center for Trade Policy Development, CTPD, has predicted that the planned relaunch of the Zambia Airways, which is scheduled for the first quarter of 2019, will be deferred owing to the financial constraints the country is currently facing. CTBD Executive Director Isaac Mwaipopo says the reality of Zambia's debt position, with domestic debt at 54.6 billion kwacha and external debt at 9.5 billion United States dollars, makes the relaunch of the national airline a gamble the country can ill afford. Mr. Mwaipopo notes that while the decision to relaunch Zambia Airways is well-intentioned, it is not prudent due to the country's current financial and macroeconomic situation. Speaking during the launch of a study focusing on the plans to relaunch Zambia Airways by the government, Mr. Mwaipopo says the rebirth of Zambia Airways will be a drain on public resources and will crowd out private investment in the domestic airline industry.
This is a document that will contribute to promoting evidence-based conversations, because sometimes we can speak just out of emotions or maybe feeling bad about a particular thing without reading through the numbers. If you look at our concern from the civil society, we've basically been more concerned around financing of investments such as these. And as we have a representative from the Ministry of Finance, it was our expectation or our hope that probably we could even get a comment on our readiness to finance this venture up to the very point that we break even. Nonetheless, we still look forward in anticipation to see what will come, and we stand ready from the civil society to support IDC in its quest to relaunch the national airline. Should there be ventures such as maybe conducting feasibility studies or anything, we're ready to get our hands dirty in terms of getting information that can help us to inform the decision that we are making. And as we speak, we are actually working on a submission with the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection that we are to submit to Parliament and make an appearance around the same subject matter. And it is our expectation that our consideration would be taken, or our recommendations would be taken into consideration. So with
And CTPD researcher Bright Chizonde has recommended that government should retain 45% shares in the airline as opposed to the 55% shares it currently owns to avoid political interference in the operations of the national airlines. Ethiopian Airlines owns 45% shares in the revamped Zambia Airways, while government owns 55% shares.
Government is seeking to create an enabling environment for air transport before investment. I think from what I have seen, even in other sectors, what we have seen with government investment is, it seems like it goes the reverse. Government invests first of all, and then seeks to create the enabling environment. For example, in terms of tourism, we are building a new airport when we have overcapacity, and then we're saying we're going to bring the tourists. So instead of first of all attracting tourists to the country by growing the tourism sector, when there is demand for aviation, then we build a new airport. But we're doing the things in the reverse order. So I think we cannot say that the government will seek to create first of all the enabling environment, because what we have seen from other aspects of government decision, they are seeking to invest first of all. So even the national airline, we see the investment coming first of all, even before evaluating whether we really need it or not. Yes.
Meanwhile, Industrial Development Corporation IDC Leah Ngoma says the investment in the revival of Zambia Airways presents government's commitment to deepening and strengthening Zambia's industrialization. The annual rate of inflation for the month of November 2018, as measured by the All Items Consumer Price Index, decreased to 7.8% from 8.3% recorded in October 2018. Central Statistical Office Acting Director for Census and Statistics, Goodson Sinyenga, has told a media briefing that the reduction is attributed to the purchase of motor vehicles and passenger transport by air from Lusaka to London through Dubai. Meanwhile, the annual rate of inflation for food and non-alcoholic beverages increased to 8.4% in November 2018 from 8.3% in October 2018, representing a 0.1% increase. Mr. Sinyenga says the increase is attributed to the price changes of maize meal, live chicken, dried bream, fish, and dried carpenter. He says the non-food inflation rate for November 2018 was recorded at 7.0% from 8.3% in October.
So what we're saying is that the rate of inflation has decreased to 7.8% from 8.3% recorded in October 2018. What this means is that on average, the rate at which prices are increasing has slowed down from 8.3 to 7.8. So we're not saying that the prices have come down, no. But we're saying the rate at which the prices are rising, the build-up in prices in annual terms has slowed down from 8.3 recorded during the month of October 2018 to 7.3 recorded in the month of 7.8 recorded in the month of November 2018.
And Mr. Sinyenga has disclosed that in October 2018, Zambia recorded the highest trade deficit this year, which stood at 2.691.2 million, representing 53.7% from 1.750.7 million recorded in October. Mr. Sinyenga says the increase, which has been attributed to the purchase of consumer goods, means that the country imported more than it exported in nominal terms.
Basically what this implies is that as a country we've continued to record trade deficits, meaning that as a country we are importing more than we are exporting, right? I'm still waiting for the time when we're going to start recording trade surpluses, where we start exporting more in terms of earnings than we are importing. Right? So we recorded that amount, and this means that the trade deficit has basically increased by 53.7% between September 2018 and October 2018.
Minister of National Development Planning Alexander Chiteme has called for preservation of natural resources to maximize their value and benefits. Delivering a keynote speech at the World Bank's 8th Wealth Accounting and Valuation of Ecosystems Services WAVES annual partnership meeting in Paris, France, Mr. Chiteme has thanked the World Bank for initiating the WAVES program, which will enable countries account for their natural resources. Mr. Chiteme says Zambia joined the WAVES program voluntarily and that it is making a lot of progress and is learning how to appreciate natural resources. He says the WAVES program will assist Zambia, which is a low-income country and has been wondering how it would harness its vast natural resources it is endowed with, namely land, forest, water, and other natural resources and biodiversity. Mr. Chiteme regrets that Zambia has been a mono economy depending on copper, which has predominantly supported the country's export earnings despite having numerous resources. Government has expressed concern that Zambia has continued to rank as one of the lowest in the Science, Mathematics and Literacy Assessment Performance Report in Southern Africa. Ministry of General Education Permanent Secretary Dr. Felix Piri says Zambia has always ranked among the bottom 3 out of the 16 countries usually surveyed in the sub-region. In a speech read on his behalf by Louis Mwansa, Director of Planning and Information at the National Conference of Pedagogy in Lusaka, Mr. Piri says these same surveys have also revealed that teachers do possess sufficient knowledge of the learning areas they handle, and yet their learners do not benefit from this knowledge. He says this situation could only point to the teaching strategies and methods used by teachers in the country. Mr. Piri adds that teachers need to take an introspection of their practices in class so as to assure the nation of the prosperity it deserves. He says the National Conference of Pedagogy is another welcome avenue in the nation's quest for transformation of classroom practices by teachers so as to improve learning outcomes for the children.
The reason national states are being institutions that oversee education provision is to ensure that children acquire knowledge, competences, and skills that will propel the society both for socially, scientifically, mathematically, technologically, and otherwise. And in fact, this is not only for children, but for all of us, because we all know that education does not end. Ladies and gentlemen, all this can only happen if teachers deploy pedagogies, methodologies, teaching techniques, and strategies which foster real learning in learners. And I'm informed that real learning is permanent. It is not screenwriting, it is not rote learning. Since independence in 1964, successive governments have invested heavily to improve access to education by building schools and deploying the required number of teachers to teach in these schools.
Speaking at the same event, UNESCO Regional Officer for Southern Africa, Head of Education Unit Caroline Medel, says they have prioritized teachers as the main focus priority.
So we're very pleased that, of course, because we have teachers as our priority, we are very pleased to have as our natural partners the Department of Teachers Education and Specialized Services. And we have two big, compared to other development partners, small but Compared to our interventions in our 9 countries, these are our biggest projects on education. We have what we call QTV, which is organizing this, from which funds we have been able to support this, as well as our civic. And I see the 2 teacher colleges whom we have been partnering with. I just want to focus on the notion of partnership. Last year, when ESMA, Grace and I were discussing the possibility of having this national conference, we were also talking with partners, with JICA, with VVOB, with USAID, and also with the Independent Schools Association of Zambia, to ask ourselves, is this worth an activity to organize? So,
the Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry has attributed the poor performance of the manufacturing industry in the country due to lack of application of science and technology. Zaki Vice President Professor Pinaru Chifwanakeni says Zambia has lagged behind in technological advancement. Professor Chifwanakeni says this has resulted in industries becoming uncompetitive with declining productivity, especially in a global trade environment dominated by rapid evolving new technologies and processes and governed by free market force. Speaking at the National Science and Technology Council Research Workshop, Professor Chifwanakeni has recommended that government should come up with an explicit innovation policy.
How many Zambian engineers are involved? How many Zambian scientists are involved? So it means much as it has come, there's funding coming, the funds will go back where they've come from. But if we had an appropriate scientific approach development, we will create more employment here, local industries, and the money here, the exchange of the dollar go down. Are you not amazed that the exchange rate is at 12 kwacha, despite seeing all these Chinese investments? So if the money was coming here, and not just the technology was here, would have the exchange rate at 5 kwacha. Because the stones are from here, the water is from here. All they're bringing is the technology that we seem to be lacking. But we have so many graduates, now we have about 60-something universities. And as from the industry, we are complaining because we are getting as university graduates cannot contribute to the wealth creation of the industry.
Speaking at the same event, Higher Education Minister Professor Nkanduluo has hinted on a plan to split the University of Zambia into 3 as part of the redesigning of some universities in the country. Professor Luo says under this plan, the University of Zambia will have 3 vice-chancellors. She has also expressed concern over the low levels of research in Zambia, which she says needs serious attention.
A couple of things have happened in this country. One, we have researchers who research and write up their research findings, then they put the research results on the shelves. And I think this is what we're being reminded in this particular workshop as research administrators. That if you research and you have results and then put these results on the shelf, written up, that's not good. Because research is supposed to be conducted, written up, and the results are supposed to find their way somewhere so that those results inform the next step. For those of us who are interested in innovation, the research results should build up to some ways in which innovative ideas can start manifesting. And these innovations should not just end, I have done this, look at it. Like we have had JETS fairs for many years in this country, done by our very, very young people who are intellectually charged, but it remains a fair. I think it should move beyond a fair. And time has come for us to redesign even the JETS in this country so that the JETS move to industry. And that's the missing piece. And that's because our institutions have operated in silos. The institutions are on their own, and then the industry is on its own.
And NSTC Chairperson Dr. Henry Msenge says research and innovation management is cardinal for professional and efficient management of research in the institutions. Dr. Msenge says it is for this reason that the Council will continue to contribute towards building and capacitating structures for research and innovation in the institutions.
Furthermore, development of nations continues to be characterized by knowledge-based economies which are hinged on research and innovation. At present, nations are striving and competing to develop successful knowledge-based businesses or industries. In responding to this, there is need to collaborate and devise comprehensive approaches through synergies with like-minded institutions from whether within the country or from outside the country. Such synergies enable us to tap into vast opportunities in the science, technology, innovation space that lies out there. Furthermore,
Action Aid Zambia Country Director Nalucha Ziba says there is need for Zambia to find practical ways of ending violence against women and girls. Speaking at the occasion of the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence community conversation held at Yasheni Community School in Lusaka's Chainda compound, Mrs. Ziba says the fight against gender-based violence is a battle that every well-meaning Zambian, woman and man, girl and boy must take personal. She says Action Aid is sad to note that despite the continued advocacy against gender-based violence, the scourge has continued unabated and is now on the upswing, with media reports on these ugly cases almost on a daily basis and in most cases reported in a negative manner. Mrs. Ziba has noted that gender-based violence will not end if survivors keep quiet about it, as this is encouraging perpetrators to continue abusing them. She said this in a speech read on her behalf by Action Aid Roving Advisor Precious Nkandu.
The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence provides us an opportunity for continued lobbying and advocacy for the security of women and girls who are the major victims of the scourge, which sometimes has led to death.
Monga is a time we are showing Monga Action Aid using Autanga Karitinga Kati Kupempa, Bunga Tusiana Siana, Tunkare Langa Napo, Monga Ministry Agenda and Kare Home Affairs, Kulanga Napo Inkani, by Langanapo Bani, Ponson Zalban Zofuni Kirapti, by Keys of Tivan Inkani, Kare Usila, gender-based violence.
This period also accords us an opportunity to reflect, and if I may add, a time to remember some of the loved ones we have lost through gender-based violence.
Yamene intawa tima mukiraso kuganizira kuti nanga mandani benangu vaise vanamarira chifukwa chachani cha gender-based violence kumenyewa. So yamene time tima kumukirapo kuti nanga ni chani zamene zinthu zinaende bwinona why vantu vakaripitiza kufa chifukwa cha mene inkani.
This 16-day period also highlights other significant dates, including December the 1st, which is World AIDS Day, and December 6th, which marks the anniversary of the Montreal massacre, at which a gunman killed 14 women.
Speaking at the same event, Ministry of Gender Assistant Director Norbert Bukoka says government considers gender-based violence as a critical area of concern, and that this is demonstrated in national policy documents such as the 7th National Development Plan, where government has committed itself to leaving no one behind.
These campaigns run from 25th November every year to 10th December, which is a Human Rights Day.
Hii kampeni imayamba chaka chichose pa 25 November kwenda fika pa 10 December chaka chichose.
The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is an international campaign to galvanize global action and strengthen advocacy and gender-based violence against women and children.
Uyu musonkano ni musonkano wano machitika maziko yosiyana-siyana mumatati yosiyana-siyana muziko kukamba kupankani yamene ili gender-based violence kapena nkani yo menya azimai mumanyumba kapena mumarket muma community yosiyana-siyana.
Zambia considers GBV as a critical area of concern, and it has demonstrated this through the national policy documents such as the 7th National Development Plan.
Ziko la Zambia ndiponso nkani zokuza gender based violence kapena nkani zomenya na menyana ni nkani amene banaika pamwamba anakali mkalangana ma document ma plan yanaikizizwa yanaikamba ati 7 National Development Plan ilimo nkani yamene ikamba pankani za gender based violence.
And Zambia Police Service Victim Support Unit Inspector Abigail Mushenya of Charleston says police will always be available to listen to people's cases. Therefore, people should feel free to report any cases of gender-based violence.
The police decided to be working together with the community.
Police kubiza na utaha accepting menyani kondo gender-based violence tukusenza na community.
Because all these vices or crimes which happen, they happen in the community.
Kwa nkani zambiri zamene zimachitika zima choka machani ma community.
And then the perpetrators also live in the community.
Niponso ana machita zimene zimachoka machani mu community.
The survivors also live in the community.
Niponso amene wama purumuka muri zamene zinkani wachoka machani mu community.
The police are also part of the community. So we found it important to work together with the community to put an end to all this GBV we are talking about today. So when we say working with the community, we look at the community as an equal partner to the Zambia Police.
Ndiponso tikakamba kuti tisenza na community tikamba kuti sekapera nisema bossi but tona kuti ba community na beve nice tili pa same level ndiponso tina capacity ya same kuti tisenzere pamoja tisirize inkani.
Patriotic Front Nakonde Member of Parliament Yuzukanji Siwanzi says the 1.4 billion kwacha works on the Great North Road in Nakonde will commence after the rainy season. Mr. Siwanzi says the contract for the rehabilitation of the road funded by the African Development Bank AFDB has already been awarded to China Railway and China State Company. He told Q News that the rehabilitation of the road is coming with a lot of benefits for the people of Nakonde, who will be empowered with employment, especially the youth. Mr. Siwanzi explains that aside from thousands of aligned employment and income generation activities, more than 2,500 direct jobs are expected to be created.
You know, it has been a cry of the people in Nakonde and also these other towns that are along Great North Road to government that this road should be rehabilitated. For me, even if the works have not yet commenced, I feel I have scored because government has finally awarded the contract to two Chinese companies because of the debates that we brought in on the floor of the house about Great North Road. And this contract is to a tune of 1.4 billion kwacha. And works are expected to commence soon after the rain season. Currently, the contractor is mobilizing on site, is connecting power from Chief Waituka's palace to Chirorwa, where he set up a quarry plant. So this also project, for me, is coming with so many benefits. It's not only rehabilitation of the road, but you know, it's a huge project which will see most of our youths at least get empowered through employment.
United Party for National Development UPND KMA Member of Parliament Kapelwa Mbangweta has charged that President Edgar Lungu lacks the political will to win the fight against corruption. Mr. Mbangweta says the president has on countless occasions turned a blind eye to numerous acts of corruption involving his appointees. He states that the president has failed to fulfill his very own conditions for solving the corruption danger in the country. And Mr. Mbangweta has also accused President Lungu's government of economic mismanagement. Mr. Mbangweta has reminded President Lungu that during campaigns in 2016, he delivered several lectures on the economy and how he would rein in on the economy and take it to high levels once the PF won the elections. He states that President Lungu's administration has failed to make good on that promise. Mr. Mbangweta says the current economic difficulties Zambia is experiencing calls for efficient and honest management of public resources and projects.
Looking for service should be truly meant, and our weight should be our bond. And so when the PF government are doing other things other than what the values and principles espouse, it's not a very good thing. Corruption also has escalated. Misuse of government resources for dubious activities has also escalated. I'm sure you've seen or heard from the Auditor General's report. Those vices have gone beyond what was expected. We have this issue of the global funds, money which was stolen from medical stores, or rather drugs. We have the issue of the social cash transfer. Now that issue is even more telling in the context of governance issues, because whether the PF government subsequently found the money which was stolen or which was misplaced or not, but for a villager in Nkeyema who had not been paid their social cash transfer since September 2017, it doesn't help them. You can say anything, but the point is Parliament agreed to pay, and it doesn't reflect very well that our parents that wait for us for so many years, they have looked after us, fought for independence, and in the later years when we should be looking after them, we are stealing from them. That is not very good.
About 600 children in Lusaka alone are benefiting from the Spirulina Nutrition Project being spearheaded by the Alliance Forum Foundation, a Japanese non-governmental organization. Japanese ambassador to Zambia, Hinebu Sobashima, says this is with a view to establish a success story of nutrition through spirulina in Zambia. Mr. Sobashima says Japan attaches great importance to health, hence supporting resolutions such as those made at the 6th Tokyo International Conference on Africa Development held in Nairobi, Kenya in 2016. He has expressed hope that all the spirulina projects being implemented in Zambia will contribute to promoting universal health coverage. Meanwhile, Mr. Shibashima says a group of Japanese nationals have been supporting and assisting the Zambia national handball team in the provision of nutrition ahead of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games.
Spirulina is very nutritious, and then the Alliance Forum Foundation, the Japanese organization, is spreading and doing the production of spirulina and examination from 2012, and then they want to establish a success story of nutrition. So the embassy is in a position to encourage the activities and support the activities.
Meanwhile, Handball Association of Zambia Secretary General Josab Changa has expressed gratitude to the Japanese government for identifying the nutrition component which has been missing in the Zambia sports fraternity. And Ministry of Sports Director Besi Chelemu has disclosed that the ministry has asked the Japanese government to extend the spirulina nutrition to other sporting disciplines apart from the Handball Association of Zambia.
You know, as a sports administrator, I've also realized that Zambia's got massive talent, but there is one component that has been lacking. No wonder sometimes we send our athletes to go and represent Zambia at international level. They are being outplayed because of lack of energy, lack of strength. Now with the provision of spirulina, which is a nutritional food supplement, I'm sure this gesture will go a long way.
So we are happy that the Japanese government is able to partner with the Zambian government to be able to launch this project. It's been grown locally in Zambia, and it's a product that can help enhance the health not only of our athletes but every Zambian. As you are aware, most of the Zambian children, their malnourishment levels and stunting levels are high.
The 2018 edition of the Highway Africa Conference in Grahamstown, South Africa, one of Africa's largest gatherings of journalists, media practitioners and owners, has reaffirmed its commitment to the growth of the journalism profession in Africa despite the growth of the digital age. QTV's Nakaonga reports that the two-day conference, being held under the theme Digital Citizenship, Changing Relationships of Media and Society, has attracted 150 media personnel from across Africa, Zambia inclusive. Highway Africa 2018 Conference Chief Organizer Tatenda Chilikobo says the conference is exploring the impact of digital citizenship on mainstream media, significantly the changing relationship on media and society in these challenging times. Mr. Chilikobo says the conference of demanding cultures of transparency, responsiveness and accountability through the effective use of digital technologies for journalism profession to remain relevant. The conference was preceded by a 3-day training program in science and data journalism masterclasses at the Rhodes University. To end the news, we take a look at stories making headlines once again. Police in Luansha have detained National Democratic Congress NDC consultant Chishimba Kambwili on a charge of unlawful assembly. UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema has demanded the immediate release of NDC consultant Chishimba Kambwili from police custody. And Siavonga District Commissioner Lovemore Kanyama has informed the Southern Province Permanent Secretary that he will start using a fire tender as transport to go for work effective 3rd December. On that note, we come to the end of the news. Thank you for watching.